A rare and deadly shooting near South Korea's Sejong City claimed the lives of 3 victims. The 50-year-old gunman took his own life after the lethal outburst. The first human-to-human transmissions of a deadly tick-borne virus have been confirmed since the outbreak first began in 2013. And Amnesty International says South Korea's human rights situation shows a regressive trend for the first time in its latest annual report.
Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Thursday, February 26th. I'm Luke Clary. A 50-year-old man fired a hunting rifle in a convenience store on Wednesday, killing 3 people in a rural village near Sejong City. The deadly outburst was triggered by a dispute with his former live-in girlfriend, and after the shooting, the gunman took his own life.
A convenience store stands ravaged by fire. Around 8:10 a.m. on Wednesday, a series of gunshots was heard in the usually quiet village on the Kum River near Sejong City. A 50-year-old man, identified only by his surname Kang, had killed 3 people with his hunting rifle. The 3 victims were the families of Kang's former live-in girlfriend, a 48-year-old woman surnamed Kim, her 74-year-old father, 50-year-old brother, and her current live-in boyfriend, a 52-year-old man identified only as Mr. Song, was killed in the shooting. The shooter also set fire to the convenience store after the incident. He had disputed with his girlfriend over his share of the store. Police said the shooter and his former girlfriend had lived together for 2 years before they broke up over financial issues. They supposedly fought over the money he had invested in the convenience store.
애정 문제 그런 것도 있는 것 같고, 방금 말씀드렸던 재산, 지분 이런 어떤 복합적인 요인이 작용하는 것으로 이렇게 판단이 됩니다.
The shooter's former live-in girlfriend was not hurt at all because she was staying in Pyeongtaek, Gyeonggi Province, on another business. Kang had stored the hunting rifle he used in the shooting in a patrol station in Gongju 3 days ago. He had obtained a license to carry a gun from Suwon authorities last July.
In 2013, reports of deadly infections of a tick-borne virus put South Korea on alert. It was later confirmed that medical staffers who treated the patients infected with the tick-borne virus also fell victim to the disease, marking the first confirmed human-to-human transmission of the virus in the nation.
In September last year, a woman in her 60s was brought to the emergency room of a university hospital after being infected with deadly tick-borne severe fever with thrombocytopenia syndrome, or SFTS, virus. Despite having received cardiopulmonary resuscitation, she died a day after her hospitalization. All 4 of the medical staffers who treated her were infected with the virus as well. The SFTS viral infection results in symptoms like fever, vomiting, and diarrhea after an incubation period of 1 or 2 weeks. At worst, a drop in the patient's platelet count can cause systemic hemorrhage and even death. Until now, only tick-to-human infections have been reported in South Korea. This is the first confirmed human-to-human transmission of the virus. The virus is unlikely to be transmitted under ordinary conditions. However, the families and medical teams treating SFTS patients must take extra caution to avoid exposure to the patient's bodily fluids, as they stand a high risk of suffering secondary infections.
Amnesty International has issued its latest annual report assessing that human rights conditions in South Korea are showing signs of a regressive trend. The latest report by the human rights watchdog is the first to use the phrase regressive trend to assess Korea's overall state of human rights.
Amnesty International's annual report assessed that Korean society showed a regressive trend in human rights last year. The human rights group's evaluation was based on the disbanding of the leftist-leaning Unified Progressive Party, constricting the freedom of expression and limiting the collective actions of labor unions. This is the first time that Amnesty had used the broad expression of regressive trend to describe South Korea.
박근혜 대통령 임기 2년에 접어들면서 인권이 후퇴하는 경향을 보인다라는 언급이 있었습니다. 공식적인 기록으로서 남게 된 것은 처음 있는 일이며
Amnesty also raised the issue over the human rights condition in North Korea. The report pointed out that structural human rights violations are continuing in the north, such as forced detainment, restrictions in freedom of expression and religion, and severe food shortages.
This including opening its doors to cooperate with international human rights monitors and to grant its citizens the freedom of movement, information, and expression that they deserve.
The report added that since Kim Jong-un seized power, North Koreans have less freedom to travel or relocate because the regime is stopping its people from fleeing the north, with signal jammers as one such surveillance technique.
Police have nabbed a ring of drug dealers who produced and sold a new kind of addictive substance called herb. The new drug is now rapidly spreading among young people, even including middle and high school students. Here's the story.
Investigators storm a hotel. They find plastic bags of a new addictive substance called herb.
마약류 관리하는 법률이 관련 혐의로 긴급 체포합니다.
In South Korea, the substance has been tentatively designated as an addictive drug, as its harmful effects have not yet been evaluated. A 43-year-old man surnamed Cho and his accomplices smuggled in addictive substances from Japan and mixed them with herbs like mugwort to produce the new drug. They sold it through the internet and social networking services for up to approximately $136 for 3 grams. Even middle and high school students bought the drug to use it themselves or to resell to others at higher prices. The herb drug's hallucinogenic effects are 10 times stronger than hemp. It can also damage the central nervous system.
그럼에도 국내에서는 인터넷을 주로 이용하는 20, 30대 젊은 층들 사이에 급속히 유행처럼 퍼져 오남용되고 있습니다.
Police have arrested Cho and 24 other drug dealers while booking some 60 users without detention. They are also pursuing a Japanese producer of the drug.
More and more terminal patients are demanding hospice services, which can help them live their last days in comfort and die with dignity. But only 12% of patients who died of cancer actually use the service because it's not covered by insurance. To address this problem, the government has now decided to have health insurance expand their coverage to hospice and palliative services starting this July.
This person despaired that she would never walk again. But she's smiling again 3 weeks after coming to the hospice ward. Chimi Young gave up all treatment after finding out that her breast cancer had spread all over her body 7 years after the first diagnosis. But even after returning home, she was tormented by extreme pain and the fear of dying. After careful consideration, she decided to come to this hospice ward.
희망이 없다는 생각을 안 해요, 지금. 지금 통증이 실제로 가라앉고 있으니까요.
Roughly 70,000 people die of terminal cancer every year. The government has now decided to let health insurance pay for hospice and palliative care starting in July. The insurance system will subsidize per-day medical expenses for all hospice and palliative care that requires long-term interactions with patients, such as music and art therapy, as well as psychological and death counseling. If a patient stayed in a 5-person room, that patient had to pay more than $200 per day. But now it will only cost around $14. The government plans to extend health insurance coverage to hospice caretaker services and at-home hospice care after pilot testing the new system.
Recently, the weather has been warmer than in previous years, and during the daytime, it even feels a bit like spring has arrived. The warm weather, though, has caused an unexpected headache for local governments that stocked up thousands of tons of de-icing agents late last year following a weather forecast of heavy snow.
This is a parking lot of a district office in Cheongju, Chungbuk Province. Dozens of large sacks of calcium chloride are piled up in a corner. A large surplus likewise remains for salt used for snow removal. This is another district office. Sacks of calcium chloride and salt are stacked up in the back of the building, as no snow removal work has been carried out since early last month. Late last year, city and county governments purchased more calcium chloride and salt than usual, following a weather forecast of frequent heavy snow. However, local governments have ended up with thousands of tons of unnecessary de-icing material, as the forecast was inaccurate and the weather has been warmer than in previous years. Cheongju alone has 2,700 tons of surplus de-icing agents.
이제 앞으로는 이제 기온이 많이 올라갈 것 같아갖고 보호 천막으로 이렇게 잘 덮어서 수분 섞이지 않고 굳지 않게 보관하는 게 최우선책인 것 같습니다.
Storage and management of the de-icing agents have become a nuisance to local governments lacking separate storage facilities, as they will have no choice but to keep the materials outdoors.
Safety is a hot topic in Korea these days. A group of elementary school children have embarked on improving safety in their neighborhood by creating a safety map as part of their semester project. They also sent letters to the chief of the district office asking him to help improve safety in the area.
The young safety inspectors tour the area around an elementary school in Seoul. They're checking if the street lights in the back alleys are working well and if there are any blind spots between security cameras. They also detect problems such as speed bumps that significantly fall short of the required height of 10 centimeters.
2.5cm. 2.5cm. 너무 작은 거 아니야?
The students have created a safety map of their neighborhood based on the results of their investigation. They also held a meeting and wrote letters to the chief of the district office to urge him to enhance safety in the neighborhood.
학교 과속 방지턱이 너무 낮아서 속도가 많이 안 늦춰지는 것 같아요.
After receiving more than 20 letters, the district office chief met with the young inspectors. He toured the neighborhood with them and promised to do his best to improve safety.
눈높이가 다르다. 그걸 실감했습니다. 어른들이 보는 안전 문제보다는 어린이들이 안전한 도시가 훨씬 더 안전한 도시다.
Projects like these help children learn about their responsibilities as citizens. Thanks to this safety map project, which was just school homework, this neighborhood has become safer.
With the total annual number of movie tickets sold in Korea surpassing the 200 million mark, Korean viewers are getting a little more demanding of their film-going experience, and new curator programs at many theaters are meeting that demand.
This moving black and white film is about a girl who was abandoned at a convent and who sets out to find her family. After its screening, a film critic appears on stage to help viewers better understand the movie.
엔딩 가면은 핸드헬드 카메라로 요동을 칩니다. 그것은 이 이다가 어떤 심적인 변화가 왔다. 그런 것들을 알 수가 있는 부분이고요.
Thanks to the friendly explanation of the film curator, the viewers are able to discover a new aspect of the movie they've just seen. A physics professor was invited to this screening to explain to viewers the theory of time travel, the major topic of the movie. With more and more viewers seeking to learn more about the backgrounds of the movies they watch, some theaters in Korea have even hired professional curators to meet the ever-rising needs of audiences.
예전에는 관객들이 영화를 일방향으로 받아들였다면 최근에는 영화에 대해서 상호소통하고자 하는 욕구가 늘어났다고 볼 수가 있습니다.
With accumulated movie ticket sales in Korea surpassing 200 million, the filmmaking industry continues to evolve in order to meet the rising standards of today's viewers.
Turmeric, a plant native to India, is known to help prevent dementia and promote longevity. Mainly used in Korea, the spice is called ugum in Korean and growing quite popular among people here for its health benefits. Today, we bring you a closer look at turmeric.
Turmeric is sold in almost all medicinal herb markets under various names. Although turmeric and its Korean variety, ugum, look alike, they have slightly different medicinal properties.
상황은 몸이 허약하고 찬 체질의 사람들에게 잘 맞고 울금은 몸에 열이 많은 그런 체질에 더 적합한 약재라고 볼 수가 있습니다.
Jindo in southern Korea is where most of Korea's ugum comes from. The plant of the ginger family is nicknamed gold from the field.
울금 줄기는 원래 파랗는데 이 울금 줄기가 노랗게 됐을 때가 바로 울금이 완전히 무르익은 것입니다.
Ugum must be harvested in early winter before the cold weather can damage the plants. That's when the ginger-like roots ripen to a deep shade of yellow.
요구르트에다 타서 먹으면 다달부리하고 맛있어라.
A mixture of ugum powder and dairy products works great as an energy booster. The powder can be added to water for rice and to various side dishes as well.
돼지고기 삶을 때에도 울금가루를 넣으면은 육질도 아주 좋아지고 또 노린내도 딱 잡아주고.
Sprinkling the ugum powder when grilling fish helps eliminate the fishy smell. India's iconic curry dishes derive their signature flavor from turmeric. Indian senior citizens who eat a lot of curry showed a lower occurrence rate of Alzheimer's disease than their American counterparts.
상황의 가장 중요한 성분은 커큐민입니다. 커큐민은 항산화제라고 해서 우리 몸의 혈액과 혈관을 깨끗하게 청소해주는 그런 성분입니다. 주 효능은 혈관성 치매와 중풍과 같은 뇌혈관이 막혀서 생기는 그런 질환들을 예방하고.
There are other ways to eat ugum besides curry. Soak 1 part turmeric and 2 parts chumma plant in 3 liters of water and boil them for 2 hours. An addition of citron sauce will reduce the bitterness of the turmeric tea and helps the body better absorb the curcumin. Ugum, turmeric, whatever you prefer to call it, keep yourself healthy with ample servings of this tasty spice this year.
And now let's take a look at the markets, followed by the world weather. And that's it for this edition of News Today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again at the same time tomorrow. Goodbye.